And that was President Trump wrapping up questions from the media. He responded to the allegations against Joe Biden, his coronavirus response, and to the new revelations in the case against Michael Flynn. He talked broadly about all sorts of things. Talking about North Korea, I thought he made a little bit of news on China. And I also thought, if I could have a point of personal privilege here, just say from a communication standpoint, I thought this press conference was leap yards, so much better than the ones from the past couple of weeks. The questions were very good. They were on point, and the president showed a lot of empathy and such knowledge across a broad range of topics. So that's my little point, but I will take it around the table now to get thoughts from the group here. This is your five. We're all here, and we have been listening intently. Jesse, let me start with you for any thoughts on any of the topics that the president brought up. I mean, he talked about just about everything he could.
Yeah, he zeroed in on China pretty specifically. Why were people in Wuhan not allowed to leave to the rest of China, but allowed to leave to the rest of the world and infect the world? China has to answer that question, and they haven't answered that question at all. He also says he has a very high degree of confidence that the virus came from this lab in Wuhan. That was pretty interesting. And he kind of was brainstorming about ways to financially sanction China, whether it's tariffs, whether it's debt payments. So he does seem to have seriously changed his tone from 2 months ago, when he was complimentary about how the Chinese have handled it on the heels of the trade deal, to now, after learning from the intelligence community how this thing escaped and how the world was not warned about it. It looks like it's a whole new ballgame with the Chinese. He also kind of wandered in to Sweden and Brazil. They tried to do herd, and doing herd doesn't work very well. And he gave himself kind of a pat on the back for locking down this country so strongly, and predicted this is going to be an ugly second quarter and really bounce back strongly in the third or potentially the fourth.
Greg, one of the questions I thought that was very good, and you might expect it more in a long-form interview than in a press conference like this, and it was the question was, you've said that we are in a war against the virus, so what does victory look like to you? And I thought his answer was measured and pretty empathetic and long-reaching.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I think the media, we're almost 4 years into this presidency, still fails to understand what Trump is. So the literalness that they take his optimism. He's a machine built on optimism. And I will steal this joke from someone on Twitter who said he was officially asked more about Tara Reid than Joe Biden has been asked, which was funny. But I want to bring up to Jesse's thing about Trump talking about the one-sided travel. I seem to remember a dashing, good-looking TV anchor on The Five back in January 27, screaming at the top of his lungs, saying, why are people from China leaving and coming here, but we aren't allowed to go to China? I remember yelling that. It was like just January 27th, as if it was yesterday. So I'd like to put my little feather in my cap.
I remember it, too.
I know. I play it over and over again when at home when I'm alone, which is often.
Indeed. I would say that, Katie, that his answer about Joe Biden and Tara Reid was very good. And actually, I'm told we have the SOT, so let's play that in case anybody missed it. This is how it went.
I don't know anything about it. I don't know exactly. I think he should respond. You know, it could be false accusations. I know all about false accusations. I've been falsely charged numerous times. And there is such a thing. If you look at Brett Kavanaugh, this is an outstanding man. He was falsely charged. What happened with him was an absolute disgrace to our country.
All right, Katie, your thoughts on that? I thought it was definitely answered. What do you think?
I would agree that it was definitely answered. He didn't attack Joe Biden on this issue, and he put the focus back on due process and and answering to the charges of your accuser publicly, especially when you're running for president of the United States. But also he puts it on the left and everybody who's championing this idea that you should believe every single accusation without any kind of due process or vetting. And so, he puts the standard back on the left by making them play by their own rules when it comes to how they want to handle these situations, because they've decided that they want the standard of you believe any accusation that any woman makes against any man because men are somehow evil. And of course, they're all engaged in some kind of sexual abuse towards women because of the patriarchy. But then you have Joe Biden, the leading candidate, who is now the nominee of the party, who has an accusation that comes out with Tara Reid, with corroboration from multiple people, by the way. And they have a choice to make about whether they're going to violate their own standards on this issue they've had for 2 years, or whether they're going to move forward with the nominee.
And Juan, maybe let me ask you about the news that we found out right before this show, that tomorrow morning Joe Biden is going to take questions from Morning Joe about Tara Reid. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we've all advised that it would be good for the former vice president to get out there and address this, and even to go into the records at the University of Delaware and just say, here's what exists and here's what doesn't exist. But just to be transparent, Dana, just to clear the air. I think that's good for everybody. I think the president was, quite careful in terms of his own response by saying, he's denied things. And if people on the right, who I think in some cases are trying to exploit this for political purposes, would accept President Trump's denial, the question is then what are you going to do when Vice President Biden appears on MSNBC tomorrow and says, yeah, I deny the charges? Does that then settle it in the way that people who are Trump supporters accept his denials in the face of, tapes and signed checks and all the rest? But I thought,
what do you think about that,
interested,
Jesse?
I think that the more... Well, hang on, let me finish
there's
here.
one signed check to someone with a consensual situation, and there was no payoffs for a sexual assault allegation. That's different.
No, there's a
Juan,
payoff
sorry, I
to
didn't
a
mean to cut
porn
you off there
star,
with
as
the
I
delay.
recall, in which he denied.
Hey,
No, I'm sorry, it's okay, Dan. I just wanted to say that I think there was news made in terms of the top of it, where the president is talking about potentially even bringing Michael Flynn back into the administration on the basis of some FBI memos that came from Michael Flynn's lawyers. And I think it was an aggressive leak by a defense lawyer that plays to the president's grievance against the intelligence community, but is specifically against the FBI. And I think it's setting up the conditions for a presidential pardon.
Can you hold for there? Greg, did you want to comment on Biden?
Yeah, I think that we're missing a big point here. Biden has a huge disadvantage with Trump. You knew what you were getting into with Trump. Sleeping with Stormy Daniels, I can see that happening. I don't want to see it, but I know that it could happen. But with Biden, you find out that he's dirty, right? He's got to defend it, whether it's about banks or boorishness, because he was supposed to be the moral alternative to Donald Trump, not just for the Democrats, but for the never-Trumpers. This was going to be the solution for the Bulwark and the solution for Bill Kristol. He was the moral choice over evil Trump, even though rumors swirled around Joe Biden for years about his behavior, about his swimming habits. We knew. So the thing is, this is going to be a lot harder for him to deal with than people think. They just can't say, but look at Trump, because he's supposed to be better, right? Isn't that what we were told?